Good morning and welcome to PuckTime on WagerTalk TV. We have 3 games to break down as well as a prop segment and best bets at the end. Myself, Andrew McGinnis, and Carmine Bianco. Just the two of us for today's show here on a Monday. Capitals, Stars, Panthers, Oilers, Avalanche, and Canucks. We'll discuss all 3 games on today's slate. And Carm, good to see you as always. You know, it might only be 3 games, but 3 pretty good games. So if we're going to have a small slate, I at least want it to be good games, you know? So it's at least a good thing to have that. How are you, Carm?
I'm good. All I can say is thank God it's Monday. This weekend, I wish I had a DeLorean where I could go back in time and listen to producer Dan give me all of his winning selections. But alas, I do not own a DeLorean. I do not have the 1985 Sports Almanac. And the weekend is over. It's Monday. The only highlight of the weekend really was the fact that I won my 5% play in the NFL. That's the only highlight of the weekend. Andrew, 3 good
It's a good
games.
highlight to have.
And you're right. The NHL did not mush us at all with 3 good games: Washington, Dallas, Florida, Edmonton, Colorado, Vancouver. These are 3 good games to start a Monday, and then we got a full slate of games the rest of the week. So there are shows each and every day. Our guest lineup is shuffled this week for you guys that are tuning in. Buster will move from Wednesday to Thursday this week to cover for Brian Leonard, and Brian Leonard on Friday will be on, and he'll be covering for me as I'm traveling. And Andrew, I hope to see the Vancouver Canucks that we're going to talk about last on tonight's card in Vegas on Thursday night. I'm going to see if I can get Marco and Brian Leonard to go to the game. But with that said, Andrew, Washington Capitals, Dallas Stars. This line opened at 160 overnight. It's 145 on Dallas right now, plus 125 on the Washington Capitals. Andrew, are the Caps a live dog? 10, yes, count it. 10 straight home wins road wins for the Capitals. But equally as good, the Dallas Stars are 12-2 at home this season. We have a 10-0 streak. We have a 12-2 season-long streak. Where are you going with this one before I throw in my 2 cents?
Yeah, this is one of those ones, Carm, where you kind of have to look at yourself and say, what's the deal here with the price in this one? And I understand the Dallas Stars are the home team, but there's so many times where you look at a price and you kind of scratch your head. And I think about Dave Koken, because Dave used to always say that, you know, if a line doesn't really make sense, there's a reason for it, right? And a lot of times he would take that team that it doesn't make sense for. Sometimes it is an underdog, and sometimes it's a favorite. And in this scenario, Carm, I think it is the favorite that we should be taking tonight to get the job done. The Dallas Stars are a typical example of a team, and I know I talk about this quite a bit, but a typical example of a team that really does benefit off the last change. Some teams don't really need to worry about it, but with how they're coached, with how they're structured, and how deep they are down the middle, they really can benefit from getting the matchups of their choice. Now, they're only 2-3 their last 5 games played. But you mentioned, Carm, the road versus home advantage, Capitals on the road, Dallas at home. But one thing to mention, Dallas, they have won 5 of the last 6 meetings over the Washington Capitals here. And I just think they're going to be the hungrier team. They're scoring right now. Their top players have been consistent. And I'm going to throw it back to you with this. This Washington Capitals team, don't get me wrong, they have been unbelievable. If you would have told me they're the number 1 team in the Metropolitan Division on December 16th, I would have said, Carm, do you have a crystal ball? I mean, what's making you say this? But now here we are. They're number 1. New York continues to lose. The Hurricanes are right there behind them. But if you look at it, you look at some of the scores here for this Hurricanes team, this Washington team, their scoring has kind of slowed down in some of their games. They've had to win games with 2 goals, 3 goals. They're not scoring 4 or 5 goals like it was such a common theme for them for so long. And, you know, with that being said, against this Dallas team right now, especially with how they play at home, you're going to have to score a few goals to beat them. So I think Dallas is the play, whether it's regulation, whether it's money line, whether you want to look towards the team total. I like betting team totals in this minus 145, 150 range, Carm. So the team total might be a play for me to get that slight plus money. I'm curious your thoughts if you're with me or against me on this one, as I'm riding the home team.
I think I'm against you, Andrew, on this one. They're just playing so well, the Caps. Do you know that the Caps, I believe, if I have this right, have only lost by two or more goals, I think 4 times this season. Now the puck line, if you're taking the plus 1.5, the odds are ridiculous in this game. You would expect it to be. You got to pay minus 200 on that, Andrew. But I'm just looking it up real quickly, and I'm pretty sure there's something like they are something like 25-4 on the puck line. Actually, some of the games they were favored in 20-9 on the puck line. But in the games that they have lost, the 4 games that they have lost, or 4 of the games of those 9 games they lost by 2+ goals. Been profitable on the puck line if you're taking the plus 1.5 in this instance. I'm going to take the Caps. We talk about streaks, and I get it. You didn't want to get in front of. We didn't want to get in front of the Edmonton Oilers last year when they won 16 straight games. That was overall home and road. It's this is 10 games on the road that they have won. Sometimes these streaks take on a life of their own, and they beat teams that you wouldn't expect them to beat. Do I want more money on the Caps, trying to get them to win in Dallas? Sure, I would love plus 135, plus 140, but it's not going to happen with this team. This team is playing extremely well, and you're not going to get them at that price. This is the right price for the books in order to, if you were looking at it to get sort of even action, to get some money coming in on Dallas. I think the value may have been lost when the line went from 160 down to minus 145, because you could have got plus 140-ish on the Capitals, but plus 125, I'm willing to go mano a mano with you, Andrew, and take the Washington Capitals. At least one of us will be right tonight. 10 straight road wins. That is impressive. They're beating whoever you put in front of them. They're beating. And to say that, well, let's look at the teams they have beaten, and maybe there's 9 or 10 of them aren't very good teams. They went into Florida, they beat Florida. They went into Tampa a couple nights later and beat Tampa Bay. They completed the Florida double, which is always tough for any team, Eastern Conference or Western Conference. They did it. I'm taking the Caps in this one, plus 125.
Yeah, it is funny, Carm, because both your Sabres, especially your Sabres, and my Canadians right now are most certainly the free spaces on the bingo card. If you're ever going to use that expression, 10 straight losses for the Sabres, and then my Habs, it's not been too much better. So, yeah, the Capitals have definitely had a stretch here against some favorable opponents, but let's not kid ourselves. They've had a really, really good season. And I bet you they have long-term been really good underdogs throughout the season and last year. So it's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I have no take on the total here. Do you have anything? Like, I think it could go either way because Dallas has been playing well at home and we've seen some goals, but both goaltenders, I do trust them. So I'm actually going to stay off the total. Do you have any take on that?
Yeah. There isn't one total tonight that I like. I had a couple totals yesterday in the NHL, Andrew. I had the total in the Leafs game to go over that went over. I had the total in the St. Louis and New York Rangers game over 6, and that had such a good chance in it as well too. It's 3-2 with about 5 minutes left, and they couldn't even get the empty net goal to at least give me a push on that one. These are flat 6 and deserve to be so. We're seeing, for the most part, teams start to play better defensively. A lot of those games that were shooting over the total aren't doing as much now, and it's because you got teams that are playing a lot better. The Edmonton Oilers, who we're going to speak about next, who you normally equate with having high-scoring games. If one team is doing all the scoring, it's tough to hit a total. You know that, Andrew. You get into those 4-1 games, and unless you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are on the wrong end of that 4-1 lead, you're not pulling your goalie um, early or at all in that sense. But speaking of the Edmonton Oilers, Andrew, so I'm passing on all totals tonight. Minus 125 on the Oilers, plus 10 to 105 on the Florida Panthers. A rematch of the Stanley Cup last season that went 7 games. Total sits at 6 here in this one. Florida kicked off their road trip well, but back-to-back losses. Vancouver and Calgary. The Calgary one's a little bit of a surprise to me. What are your thoughts on this one?
You know, it's really interesting because you take a look at this Oilers team, you kind of get the vibe. It's been the same thing as it was last year. They start off a little bit slow, then they find their way into a little bit of a heater, and it comes around the holiday season. It comes when they're at home, Carm, whether it be against good teams, bad teams, middle of the pack. They're getting the job done right now. And what I like about this Oilers team, they're getting the job done in multiple ways. They truly are. But when I look at this one here, this is one of those situations where I know we're supposed to ride the hot hand. I know we're supposed to kind of look at things in the sense of this is the team playing better. Let's not try and bet against them. But I kind of like the Florida Panthers here, you know, and we've seen how desperate teams have been off getting shut out. You know how I've mentioned that, Carm, with the first period overs, full game overs. But a lot of the time, these teams that are off shutouts, and Florida's not just off one shutout, they're off 2 shutouts. A lot of the times, these teams that are off the shutouts, they're not only, you know, getting goals, they're winning the games. And so when you see this kind of Stanley Cup rematch from last season, and you take a look at the desperation levels, sure, you've got one team where the confidence is at a high right now after 5 straight wins, and one team, look, losing to Calgary and Vancouver might not be too pleased, but their analytical numbers still look pretty good. I still trust the depth that this Florida Panthers team has, and I think it's going to be a good night for Barkov and company. I like the Florida Panthers here as a barking dog on tonight's slate, Carm. What do you think?
Working dog. Yeah, I can see it, but I think we're going mano a mano again here, Andrew.
Oh, no.
You know, I talked about the Edmonton Oilers. I talked about the Oilers last week, and I said it's time to jump on the Oilers train because they are starting to play hockey like they did during that 16-game win streak, in which they play very solid defensively. They play that 200-foot game, and they're doing it, and they're scoring goals when they need to. They didn't need to score 7 goals to beat Minnesota. They beat them 7-1. They didn't need 6 goals to beat the Edmonton Oilers, or sorry, to beat the Vegas Golden Knights, but they avenged that 1-0 win in Vegas, in which the analytical numbers told you that Vegas were the better team, or sorry, that Edmonton were the better team. I'm better team in Vegas, but lost that game 1-0. You can take positives from those games and use them. We're talking about a team now that is 8-1 their last 9 games. The one game that they lost was that 1-0 loss in Vegas. This is a team that's playing extremely well right now. And why would you want to jump off of it? I get it. This is a Florida team, and these teams are familiar with themselves. And Florida did beat them in the across 7 games in the Cup final last year. But this is an Edmonton team playing extremely well right now, and you're getting them at minus 125 at home, and that's just because the Florida Panthers garner that much respect that the price is this low. I'm taking the Oilers. I'm laying the $1.25 in this one, and it'll probably go up as a small client play as well too.
6-3.
What do you think about
Their
going
last 9
mano a
games.
mano in the first 2 games? What do you think? We're going mano a mano.
What a way to start the week. What a way to start off the week, guys. Again, like I mentioned, when there's only 3 games on the slate, you love to see the fact that we're going to get some good games at least, right? And that's what we have here, guys. We've got 3 good games here on a Monday. You know, it feels like a lot of times on Wednesdays or Fridays, some of those days where it's a quieter day in the NHL, they give us bad matchups, really not so great teams being featured on the slate. But today we do have some really good ones. So I'm curious, guys, comment below. You guys let us know what you guys are thinking for today's slate. Let us know what you're thinking for Florida and Edmonton, the NHL Stanley Cup Finals rematch, because I'm curious what you guys have and what you guys are thinking for all these matchups. But it is interesting. Florida, of course, has had the better of Edmonton as of late, but right now they have been playing much better. As far as the total's concerned, 4 last 5 games have gone under for the Florida Panthers, but 4 of the last 5 meetings between these two teams have gone over, and we've seen goals when these two teams get together. I'm also curious about the physicality. How much is this really still a rivalry? How much do these teams still have, kind of like that hatred towards each other and kind of that intensity dating back to last year? Because, I think that never really goes away, right? You've accepted your loss and you've accepted you haven't won the Stanley Cup, but still there's got to be that factor where, you have that belief in yourself that you want to prove that you can beat this Florida Panthers team, even if it is a different team than it was last year. All right, guys, let's jump into the prop segment. Let's talk some props here. I've got just 3 player props that we are going to jump into on today's show. Before I jump into it, I'll mention, guys, I'm finally on a big run here. We're on a big run in the NHL, and a lot of it has to do with a big, big Saturday in the NHL. We have won 8 straight in the NHL. Super excited about it. 8 straight winners. Pretty much been treading water, about 500 all season long. Now we've got our big streak. We don't want to look back. We have a promo code for today. Hopefully keep it going for a few days. Season 150. Season 150 is the promo code. Take $150 off my full NHL season package. Team totals, sides, props, anything that I release, futures included, all the way up until the Stanley Cup Finals. You'll get everything I bet. I have 1 play going tonight, just 1 play for clients, and I already like some plays tomorrow on the Tuesday NHL card. So guys, go to my homepage, use that promo code season150, take $150 off my full NHL season package. All right, we're going to go with Jamie Benn from the Dallas Stars to record a point tonight. And it's a great price. You got to love that at just -108, and how this Dallas Stars team has been playing at home. They're playing the Washington Capitals here. His line has been great, and I always talk about this Dallas Stars team being a tricky team to bet player props on because they're so deep. They have so many guys that get going. But with that being said, you also want to ride these streaks. You want to get guys when they're going really well. And right now, Jamie Benn has been extremely consistent for the Dallas Stars. So we'll take him to get a point and keep his streak alive. 5 of his last 6 games he has won, and they're playing extremely well at home. Let's go with Alexander Barkov from the Florida Panthers to get going for the Panthers here. Over 2.5 shots on goal. That number is -130. They haven't just been shut out in 1 game. They were shut out in back-to-back games. The urgency, the desperation, the pressure for the should be led by their captain, Barkov. And if he has a good game, I think we see him go over 2.5 shots on goal. All right, the last one involves this game as well. We're going to go Zach Hyman over 2.5 shots on goal. Guys, think back to last year during the postseason. The prices for him, it was a minus price over 3.5 shots on goal. Now we're getting over 2.5 shots on goal, -130. I know the guy isn't having a great season so far. He's been a little bit quiet, but the Oilers are picking things up. They're playing good hockey right now, and he's building confidence. Over 2.5 shots on goal for Zach Hyman is a great bet because in a short period of time, this number will move back to 3.5 shots on goal. So this to me is a great value play. We got Ben, we got Barkov, and we have Hyman. Let's go for a 3-0 sweep, and don't forget about that code. Season 150, 150 off a full NHL season. And that works for Carmine as well. So do not forget about that, guys. And hopefully we can get Carmine back. He's having some tech issues as of right now here, but we'll get him back and we'll get his thoughts on the Avalanche and Vancouver Canucks game, as that will be our last one that we're going to discuss. As you guys saw on the screen, of course, while I was mentioning the props, we do have that great deal that's applicable for everybody at WagerTalk, which is 10 days of all sports for the price of 7. You buy a 7-day pass and you're going to get 3 days for free. So if any of you guys have not purchased from WagerTalk before, or you want to jump back in, probably a good idea. I know some of you guys don't want to go long-term, 90 days, full seasons. Well, this is a good idea. You buy 7 days, you're going to get 3 days for free. Let's jump into Colorado and Vancouver. Guys, Colorado, they are coming off a big win over the Nashville Predators. And the big storyline for me about the Colorado Avalanche is their new pickup in goal, their new goaltender, Mackenzie Blackwood, from the San Jose Sharks. And it's funny when trades happen in the NHL that fans and sports writers and just everybody in general kind of thought would be a really good fit, would be a really good idea for the Avalanche. And that trade was taking Blackwood from the San Jose Sharks and bringing him to the Avalanche. And imagine being a goalie that plays extremely well every night, has an unbelievable save percentage, but yet your goals against average is horrible because your defense is so bad on your team. And that's how it felt for Blackwood when he played for San Jose, right? Even though your team is struggling, it doesn't mean your goalie isn't good. You can be a good goalie and be on a bad team, right? And so it was a really good trade there, and Blackwood performed at an extremely high level. I know Nashville, they got on the board late in the game. They got on the board late in the third period against the Colorado Avalanche, but that 5-2 dominant victory, Arturi Lehkonen had himself a great game. We saw Nathan McKinnon have himself a multiple point night. He now has 50 points on the season already. So he's playing extremely well. And then in Vancouver, the last time I checked, Thatcher Demko is the projected goaltender for them. And Thatcher Demko, look, guys, if we're putting it lightly, he has not had a picture-perfect storyline return to the NHL after his injuries. And he's dealt with all kinds of injuries. He has a 4.47 goals against average at this point, an .830 save percentage. But I still think he's a hell of a lot better than that. And sometimes it takes you a game or two to get back to your form. And this Vancouver Canucks team right now have been very inconsistent with their defensive play. But after what I saw from them over the weekend against the Bruins, and I had the Bruins, I love that in-season revenge spot. I love that desperate spot for them after the loss. And they took it to the Vancouver Canucks. They really did. But I think the and under in an Avalanche game with all their scorers. But guys, with the fact that Vancouver has been giving up goals, the fact they're coming off that loss they were against, I would say, an Eastern Conference rival like Boston, two good goaltenders, another chance for Blackwood to showcase what he can do, to be happy to be on a good team. I'm going to take under 6 Avalanche and Canucks. And we have Carm back with us. Carm, what's up, man? What do you have for us in this game?
And man, it's like everything is malfunctioning this morning. My kind of rebooted. Everything is good. Andrew, we're not mano a mano on this one, so that's a good thing. I'm taking the Avs in this one, and it has a lot to do with the fact that this team is playing well. They're scoring goals, but I can't trust this Vancouver team right now. They play a complete 90-minute game, or sorry, 60-minute game. They 200 feet of ice against Florida, a great game by them, and then they throw in clunkers. And you look at Thatcher Demko, he's the 2 games, 9 goals on 53 shots. He's struggling to find the puck right now. He's fighting that puck. We see it with goalies when they come back from an extended time away, injuries, their first few games. They're fighting that puck. He's fighting the puck. If he's in goal tonight, it's got to be the Avs for me tonight, minus 135. Vancouver's going to have to play so much better in front of them. Don't see that happening with the Avs in this spot. It's some of these teams we keep hoping they're going to play better, or we keep expecting that they're going to play better, and they just don't. They continue to lose games, and and then we end up on the wrong side of them. I hope I'm on the right side of this one because I just don't see um, the Canucks beating the Avs tonight. It doesn't mean it can't happen. It just means that Thatcher Demko would have to do a complete reversal of what his first couple of games have looked like thus far in losing to the Blues and then losing to a Bruins team. They lost to a Bruins team that had been outscored 13-2 in their first two games on this road trip. And Boston went in there and pretty much dominated the game from start to finish. Give me the Avs minus 135.
You got to think, Carm. I mean, look, I've made it very clear how high I am on Blackwood, but I think that, I mean, you have to think as a team how comfortable they are with a goalie like that behind them. Like Nashville actually played a pretty good game Saturday night. I watched that game and I was all over the Avalanche, but I was worried because Nashville had a bunch of chances, but Georgiev, he wasn't the answer, you know, and they trade away Onanen as well. So in a matter of, what was it, 3 or 4 weeks, the Avalanche traded both goalies. Carm, how often do we see that? A team not only trades their backup away, they trade their starter. I mean, look, the Colorado Avalanche were already a Stanley Cup contender, but they clearly addressed something that they thought was a need, and pretty much the whole hockey world thought was a need, and that was their goaltender. And not just their backup, but their starter, and it makes sense. And so now you've got a guy that's playing super well, and the whole Thatcher Demko thing, as you mentioned. Is it kind of the thing with Thatcher Demko, Carm, where you fade him until you see him have a good start? And the thing is, they have no real choice over there in Vancouver. They're going to have to keep riding him out until they see him play well, right?
Yeah, it's tough because more so, and again, to quote the late great Dave Koken, is goaltenders do matter, and it's something that unless you're play, and I'll normally, if I load a play overnight, I'll put in the play. This is not a goalie dependent game. Doesn't matter to me who's in goal, if it's the second string goalie or the starter. But it's important right now because if you look across the NHL, Andrew, there are some goalies that are going down with injuries. We saw it in Toronto with Stolarz going down in that game. They started Hildeby yesterday, and if the Sabres had generated more shots on goal and played a little defense, they probably could have stolen 2 points there. But still, a 5-3 game, one that goes over the total. You look at there's some other teams with some goaltending issues. The Buffalo Sabres just called up Devon Levy or Levi from the minors, from the AHL affiliate. I don't think that's a good move either, Andrew. Just going off on a bit of a tangent, because as far as the Sabres go, he's a guy that I think needs to spend a whole season with the AHL team getting better before they bring him up. A lot of good goalies, and I'm not comparing these two goalies, Andrew, by any means. I'm not comparing these two goalies, but a lot of goalies earned their wings down in the AHL before they made it up there. And you look at Jordan Binnington when he was called up, and the Blues go on to win the Stanley Cup. Where do you think Igor Shesterkin started? In Hartford, playing in the AHL for Hartford. He didn't just come in from Russia and they plugged him between the pipes in New York for the Rangers. But lo and behold, he got his time in at Hartford, came up, and he's been stellar ever since. So you may want to, before you pull the trigger on any bets today or this week, just have a look at goaltending info off of the Twitter or whatever we call it, because they're at the practices and they see who's in the starters creased, and that gives you an indication of who's going to be in goal tonight. And having that information will help with your bets. But finally, to your point of Demko, I wouldn't be confident betting on Demko right now just because off of his 2 games. He's a good goalie. He's a very good goalie when he's on. He's not on right now. So do you gamble that he's going to be on tonight against the Avalanche? And if they take any penalties, putting that power play on the ice for the Avalanche? No, I don't. So I'm going to stick to that one. Andrew, before we get to this best bets, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about this because you're on such a great run right now. 8-0, fantastic run. What the hell is wrong with the New York Rangers?
How long do you have? I mean, we only have a few more minutes,
Like,
but we could go on and on and
does
on
the
and on and
news
on. But
is there a news did I miss something? Sorry to interrupt you. Did I miss something where there's been no news on the coach where we're just not blaming the coach? And I get it. It's the players on the ice. And Panarin was a late scratch yesterday as well too in that game. But Laviolette, a very good coach, he's getting nothing out of these guys. So sorry. Right back to you.
Carm, is it fair that we can kind of compare the Bruins and the Rangers a little bit? Maybe some people will say that could be an insult to either team because the Rangers actually went a little bit farther last year. But here's the deal. I think that if you fire the coach, who does it look bad on? It looks bad on the management because, look, I'm a big fan of Gerard Gallant, all right? He's an East Coaster. I cheered for him when he was a Vegas coach. I cheered for him when he was the Rangers coach. He said in an interview after they lost in the playoffs at one point, Carm, he's pretty much said, when your best players aren't getting the job done, when you got these guys soaking up this many $1 million on our salary cap and they're not getting the job done, or they're scared to go to the corners, or they're not doing this, they're not scoring the dirty goals, that's an issue. And I think back to Chris Kreider, he used to score some dirty goals around the crease. Some of those guys used to be able to find ways to win in kind of different ways. Now it seems like they're a team that lacks speed, and they scratched Capo Caco last night. I'm curious if he might end up on the trade block because Alexis Lafreniere, he's made something out of the potential that he had. And, he was talked about as a generational talent. And I think that he had a pretty good stretch of goals to start the season off. And he decided to sign his contract. Right after he signed his contract, Carm, he cooled off. So you trade away your captain, you scratch Panarin, you scratch Capo, you look at all these guys that aren't playing well. You know who I think about right now? Shesterkin, who just signed an 8-year deal with a no-trade clause in all 8 years. Did he just sign with a team that's going in the opposite direction as they should be? Because I think he did. But I think, you know what they need, Carm? They need a low-scoring victory. They don't need to win a game with a bunch of goals. They need a boring, gutted out, low-scoring victory because right now, whenever they try and play a fast-paced style of hockey with any team, it's not working out for them right now. So the betting markets continue to show love to the Rangers as well. So, I mean, as of right now, guys, if you don't kind of have it in you to fade them on the money line, what you can really do is take the team total over for the other team they're playing because they're giving up goals right now. And how about the Los Angeles Kings, man? They got the job done easily on Saturday over that Rangers team. Before I throw it back, I want your thoughts, Carm. Another goaltender who I'm a big fan of that had to do a conditioning stint when he came back from injury? Carey Price. Did you know that Carey Price has played for the Laval Rocket before? I mean, kind of shocking to think a guy like that would have played in a Laval Rocket jersey. When he got injured, he came back, and I think he played 2 games for the Laval Rocket. So if Carey Price can do it, why can't Thatcher Demko do it?
Yeah, listen, he'll be well. It's going to take some time. He's got to work himself back into, regardless of whether he gets starts in the AHL or not. It is a different game, is a different speed, is a different skill level at the NHL level than it is at the AHL level. So Demko, unless there's some underlying condition with him, Demko will be fine. He's got to work back into it. I just don't want to be on the ride with him while he works it out because you can lose a hell of a lot of money on that ride. Shesterkin will be fine. The New York Rangers, I think, will be fine, but right now they're not. There's a coach out there who could help him out, second only to Scotty Bowman in wins. He's got just under 1,000 wins. I think 969, I think 969 wins. Joel Quenneville, his name's been thrown around, and coaching changes do work. Jim Montgomery. Jim Montgomery has a 660 win percentage and has been fired twice, Andrew. Twice. And now he's the
Yeah.
coach of the St. Louis Blues, and they won yesterday. Imagine firing a coach who's got a 660 win percentage, but the Bruins did it. I don't get it, but the guy is winning. And the Rangers played a total of 10 minutes yesterday. I watched that game. They weren't in the first period. They weren't in the second period. They were partially in the third, where they scored a couple of goals to make it 3-2 and close the gap on them, but ultimately lost the game. You got to play 60 minutes of hockey, sometimes a little bit more, to win in the NHL. You take a period off, your team's going to likely end up losing that game. All right, Andrew, we've done enough talk about teams that are not playing tonight. Why don't you give us a play on one of the 6 teams that is playing tonight, and let us know what you have up at WagerTalk, because you're on absolute fire and you got a promo as well too.
Carmen, I'm hoping to keep it going, man. Just one play, one bet up in the NHL for today. You guys can grab that, of course, at WagerTalk, or you can use the promo code Season150 to take $150 off my full NHL season. Get all the plays I release, everything up until the Stanley Cup final, sides, totals, props, whatever it may be. Season150. 150 off the full season, or that great deal right now. You buy 7 days, you get 3 days for free, all sports. But my play for today, my show play, is going to be the under in the Avalanche and Vancouver game. It's going to be a good game, I think. 2 tight checking teams, 2 teams with a ton of high on the fact that Blackwood got traded to the Avalanche, and I do think that Demko is going to turn things around for Vancouver. I don't have it in me to take a side in that game, but I do think the under is the way to go. So we'll take that as our total free play of the day. Back to you, Carm.
Right. I like it, Andrew. I'm going to go back to the Avs and Vancouver game. I have this up on the WagerTalk free play site as well too. I'm going to take the Avs and as minus 135 full game line. It's not regulation, full game line on them. Again, it's a play against Vancouver, who are struggling at home this season. One of the best or better home teams last season in the Western Conference and the NHL overall at home, and they just can't seem to get wins at home. I'm not sure what is ailing this team, but we'll see. If it's Demko in goal tonight, I like this play that much better. So I'm going to take the Avs minus 135. Not much on the card for me today. I'm going to have a complete all access package, which is going to have a couple NHL plays and some plays in the NFL tonight. That's going to be all in one package and should be up within the next hour. And it's day 6 of the 12 days of Christmas for me. You can get $30 off a 7-day all access package. That is a great deal because I have a NHL 5% play coming up that I really do like. You can get that as part of this package. That would be $35 on its own. So getting this 7 days, $30 off is a great deal, and that'll take you straight through to next Sunday's NFL as well too. So grab that deal today because it expires at midnight. Andrew, keep that run going. We need for you to make a ton of money so you can make another trip out to Toronto to watch your beloved Habs maybe in the springtime here. I think they play in Toronto towards the end of the season. It was a great time when you and your dad made it through. Dan and I were coming off of big wins. Producer Dan, guys, really quickly in the chat, let producer Dan know. I think he's got his priorities a little out of whack. I said to him last night, after the Bills won and after the Eagles won, dude, I'll meet you at the Super Bowl. Let's start saving our money now. You know what he said? He goes, I got a wedding to save for. What do you guys think of Dan getting married at the Super Bowl? This way you killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Great deal. Guys, let's get on Dan. Super Bowl. Eagles, Bills, Super Bowl. Bills Mafia versus Eagles Nation. Who do you guys got? For myself, Andrew McInnes, and Dan, our producer, this is PuckTime.
They can hear me. My wedding's supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Now, I don't know if I could correlate that with asking the Eagles to win a Super Bowl, because I don't think the missus would be very happy if at the end of the wedding night I'm mother effing everybody because the Eagles lost to the Bills and gave them their first Super Bowl. So might not be the best course of action, but we can start a GoFundMe page regardless.
You know what? I actually get that.
Yes,
I'm gonna say something. I agree. I like what Dan said there, because for me, it's kind of like so my old man's birthday is on December 28th, and he told me growing up, it was lower class family. He said didn't really get much because you got Christmas and your birthday out close together. You're already not getting many things for Christmas. You think he was getting a birthday gift? It's like that's why I don't understand. I see a lot of my friends getting engaged around the holiday season. Wouldn't you want to get engaged when there's no other special occasions nearby? Like, that's kind of how I feel. So he's not trying to get married near the Super Bowl. Like, he's trying to spread those two things out. Like, one thing is already exciting. Why have another exciting thing on the same day? I don't know. I mean, you want to separate those two exciting things. And as Dan said, I mean, if there is a chance that they lose, could you imagine him just mean mugging on all his wedding pictures, Carm? He's just dead serious,
No.
not even happy.
Listen, no, listen, I know we're running out of time, but come on. Halftime. Who watches the halftime show at these Super Bowls anyways? Halftime in the mezzanine by like one of the beer stands, like Dan, he gets married. It would be great. We bring in Father Guido Sarducci to perform the ceremonies, and it'll be just a fantastic
Well,
time. But with that
if
said,
Bill's Mafia is
I am
there,
starting to
Carm,
GoFundMe.
if Bill's Mafia is there wouldn't be a first kiss. There would be a first table smash. So, I mean, that
First
could be a nice
tables.
play.
Yeah.
That could be a nice
I was at the first Bills Super Bowl. Scott Norwood, wide right. I was there watching it. I still not recovered from it. Many, many, many years later. There's nothing worse than leaving a stadium when that happens. It's gut wrenching, but it happens. It's kind of like the Leafs every season in the first or second round of the playoffs. But with that said, I had to get a shot in. Andrew, hold down the fort this weekend. Tomorrow, it's you and I and the Prez. Wednesday, you and I. And then I am off to Vegas, where I will start Dan's GoFundMe with a couple winning parlays for him, or winning bets for him. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys coming on and keeping that live chat active each and every day. Hit that subscribe button. Join the ever-growing community here at WagerTalk. And don't forget, tomorrow's Customer Appreciation Day, $5 day. Across the board, every capper should have a $5 play up. With that said, for myself, Andrew McInnes, and Dan Alexander, this is Puck Time. We'll see you on Tuesday.